Hello everyone, I'd like first to introduce myself. I'm Cecil Gaillot. I'm working as a manager in the Global Lighting Solution Department at VF since 25 years now. I would like to thank Marnie Og for inviting me talking about these very sensitive topics regarding lighting pollutions, and more especially to talk about the feedbacks we've got experiencing the lighting pollution decree which was released in 2018. The publication of the decree, lighting pollution decree, has caused, I would say, a small earthquake in the habits established for decades for all stakeholders within the whole profession. The decree's publication was expected to be the result of a succession of initiatives and awareness raising campaigns that had been going on for a long time. Some professionals such as lighting designers and a few manufacturers were already familiar with technical solutions, many of which already existed and were already being applied. What had to change, however, is the mindset in which the problem of lighting pollution was perceived. Releasing and applying the decree to reduce the lighting pollution was a quite long journey which took place in US in 1988 by the creation of an International Dark Sky Association, which was widely broadcast in France with the creation of a National Association for the Protection of the Sky at Night, ANPCEN, in 2005. This association was mostly hosting professional and amateurs in astronomers. They quickly launched a strong awareness campaign among all local decision makers, especially I would say elected representatives, and they introduced a label rewarding municipalities' initiative on the subject of lighting pollution. This label was called Ville et Village Étoilés, and this road sign was posted in the city entrances, and everyone know how much elected representatives appreciate being recognized for their initiative. In 2010, French Nature Environment, which is another national association for the protection of biodiversity, joined forces with ANPCEN to denounce the massive arrival and installation of 6,000 and 5,000 K LEDs, whose high blue light content in the spectrum disrupts drastically the ecosystem, leading to the creation of another label for local authorities committed to turning off lighting during the least useful hours, mostly in small towns. On the recommendation and the pressure of the ANPCEN and the French Nature Environment, the government is condemned for inaction by the Council of States in March 2018. 9 months after the French states government was condemned, the decree was officially published and launched in December 2018. The commission that worked on the decree brought together a college including ANPCEN and French Nature Environment associations, with also some urban lighting experts, urban planners, sociologists and biologists. The composition and content of the decree is quite dense. It is therefore very difficult for me to go into all the details. It would take a lot of time. I will here present, I would say, the main guidelines and technical recommendations that must be applied to any new outdoor lighting project, but also the street lighting renovation market. The first topic is where to apply the decree. We talk about urban, public and private area. We talk about urban, public and private garden or parks. We talk about building illumination, parking lot, but also it makes some detailed focus on indoor lighting emitting to the outside. We talk also about outdoor events, outdoor playgrounds, and in the meantime, the guideline and the technical recommendations are much more tough for all protected areas such as a national park, regional park, or on off-built areas equipped with lights. The second task and topics is when to switch on, switch off, and switch on again, and with additional functions and fixtures for dimming or to have light on demand with motion sensor, for example, to provide light when needed during appropriate and useful functional time slots. The third topic is what kind of light must be distributed, especially for the functional features such as lanterns, bollard, columns, in which the light beam distribution must be 100% below the lower hemisphere of distribution and 0% of ULR. Moreover, 95% of the light and the output light must be emitted in a maximum angle beam of 151 degrees. It is also called the flux code number 3, edited by the International Lighting Commission. On the fourth topic, we are talking about light color temperatures to reduce obviously blue light in the light spectrum. So everywhere 4K should be stopped and must be stopped and replaced by a maximum of 3K. In fact, 2.7K is strongly recommended and installed, especially for street lighting area. There is no restriction for illuminations. However, in the protected area, the maximum is 2.7K and everywhere, even for illumination, and most of the times 2.2K is recommended. And the last one concerns the limitation of the power consumption. We talk here about what we call the light density, in which the ratio between the useful flux emitted by the luminaire on the surface area to be illuminated. It is expressed in lumen per square meter to calculate the efficiency of the features of the lighting device. And the maximum average is 25 lumen per square meter. It's a subject that is attracting a great deal of interest from the general public and especially for the local elected representative and specifier, and I would say more particularly for the landscape architects public, who in France are very often the guardians of biodiversity protection issues in their work as designers for the urban spaces. In recent years, we have seen the emergence of, I would say, consultants specialized in the physical measurements of lighting pollutions, and I would say that their work is how to change the representation of light pollutions in the way that it is mainly dominated by satellite views, as well as specialists of the behavior of different animals and species during the night. So I would say it's to set up black path or black corridor. I would say it's more collaborative work between the knowledge of the light pollutions and the knowledge of biologists or zoologists. So in France, when we talk about black path, the first thing to implement this black path or black corridor is to study and taking into account the place of the different components of biodiversity and the perception of the night. For example, a frog, a fish, a flying insect, or migratory birds do not perceive the night and feel the night the same way, depending also on their nature and on their living environment. The black path is established and studied in collaboration with what we call also with the blue path for aquatic environments, combined with the green path, which is the natural terrestrial environment, according to each species repulsive and attractive effects of light. I would say it's more process methodology of cartographic overlapping. So more and more local authorities are calling on specialist laboratories to measure 360 degrees impact of artificial lighting, not only on a local scale, but also from a more global perspective. And the results of these surveys are used to determine the action to be taken in terms of light distribution, for example, and the light spectrum, as well as the need of light or not, which will be used to set up black path. Regarding further policies in color temperatures, we can say now that 100% of the street lighting sales since 2020 have gone to 3K. This is the end of 4K since. We can observe is that this is a very complete change in a very short time. And what we observe also slowly, we can see that the 2.7K sales for any kind of street lighting product is also taking the advantage on 3K. I think this year, 2025, we will see for the first time the 2.7K sales growth will be higher than 3K for sure. Talking about far red color temperatures, I would say that there is some emerging demand for far red, but very few. Most far red, or what I call one wavelength spectral array projects, don't meet with some widespread enthusiasm. Most projects is still used in a motion control mixed between 2.7K and 2.2K, what we call by VF wide light technology. And yet in the meantime there is also very few demand. And to explain why the rate of sales in 2.2K or maybe, for example, far red is quite low, you need to understand that the LED refurbishment rate is quite high in France. And during the last 5 years, I would say that over 40% of the refurbishments use LEDs equal or below 3K. And you can explain that most of the city launched their street master plans, light master plans, between 2015 and 2020. First, they did it in 4K, then in 3K, then in 2.7K. And I would say that for the time being, 2.2K is progressing slowly, which may be explained also by the fact that actually, currently, the 2.7K has much more been heavily promoted. In addition, the 2024-2028 French Green Fund plans, in which every municipalities can contract 20% subsidies for street lighting refurbishment, promote 2.7K in main urban area and 2.2K only in protected area, meaning regional parks, national parks, and so on, which represent very few areas in France. Considering that all the changes have benefited to the key stakeholders, for the manufacturers such as VF, for example, it's obviously a fantastic framework for innovation and strategy. Why produce poorly when you know the solutions and direction to take? It's easy to follow the 5 principles of Dark Sky Association, for example, as a guideline for innovation, combined in France with the decree for the reduction of the lighting pollution. For specifiers, mainly lighting designers, obviously, we are seeing trends towards better urban light ambiances at night, combining, of course, light pollution, but also urban uses, dimming, movement, motion, light on demand, etc. And with a greater collaboration with landscape architects who are claiming and demanding more education in lighting. But there is also resistance, or rather vigilance, in the face of a growing sense of insecurity, especially among women, as some urban policy decisions confuse the reduction of lighting pollution, in some cases with the opportunity to cut energy costs through the uncontrolled switch off of urban lighting. A recent survey released in 2022 shows that 76% of the women walking in the city at night with a poor light or sometimes no lights appears more as a strategy for getting from a point A to a point B as quickly as possible. Thinking about human nightlife from a woman's point of view is not only reducing the psychological constraints, but it's also a part of the process of socialization and economic inclusion. So, is there any signs of changes? I would say a big yes. For the first time, a major scientific survey published in last July 2024 proves that there has been a radical change in the measurements of radiance. Measured from Earth orbit, the amount of artificial light emitted by France fell by 25.4% between 2022 and 2023. Moreover, the study shows that France reduced its light emissions by 2.5% per year between 2015 and 2022. So, in the words of an Australian guy I worked with at VF for a few years, Vive la France!